Hi. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. My camera looks all like foggy. Maybe it just is like that. I don't know. Oh well. How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been okay. I'm a little bit stressed about my dissertation proposal, but we'll get there.
What day was it due?
It's due in on Friday.
Ooh, have you done much of it?
A little bit, not enough. But I still have tomorrow, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's a whole day. Is it due in the morning on Friday?
Sadly, yes, it is due in the morning on Friday. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm Elle. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Would you guys mind just putting what Marrow group you're from?
Oh yeah. I always forget how to do it.
Oh, also, sorry, I forgot to say we're recording this session. I hope that's okay with everyone. Just there's a few people that can't make it, so. Hi, Anna.
Hi, finally got here. I think you must have just sent me the personal meeting ID and not this meeting ID. I think it's probably.
I'm interesting, because if I did send you that one, then everyone else has also got that one.
I just got lost.
I don't know how I managed to set up 2 meetings at the same time.
The links look similar. Maybe I don't know. But the one you just sent worked, so that's fine.
Let's see. I'm going to try and see if I can, hang on, I'm going to try and launch the other one and see if there's people.
Oh, I think she's left now.
Yeah, I think she's gone to look at the other one.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing Marrow for?
About 2-3 years now.
Oh, that's a long time. Cool.
Yeah, I'm on alumni, so I've been doing it for probably 5, I think. Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm here to do a shout out for alumni.
That's so cool.
How about you?
Literally only since September this year, so not very long. But
Yeah, we love a newbie.
yeah, hopefully for long after now.
So you're in first year?
I'm second year, but there wasn't a Bristol Marrow group last year. We had to start it up because it had died out. So it's been a bit of a challenge, but yeah, it's going well.
I can completely relate. In my first year, it was 2 people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was literally just me and Elle, but we've got, I think we've maybe got about 10 people, maybe a bit less, but it's a lot more. So
yeah, that's really good. How's it all going this year? Are you being able to do in-person events and stuff?
Yeah, so this last week we did one of the city campaigns, so we did quite a lot of events in the week, and it was actually really successful. We signed up 127 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was really good, but it would we were there for we did it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, pretty much 9 till 6 or 8 or something.
Oh wow.
But it was worth it, and it was good to do a big event to kind of kick it off, so that everyone could see how it works. Hi.
Ah, she's back.
You're muted.
Sorry, I honestly don't know how I managed to do that. That's so bizarre. I just hope that I might post some message. Well, Anna's going to give us a little presentation just to start. So whilst Anna's doing that, or do you want me to post a message now, Anna, to try and?
No, like you can do it during. I'll talk really slowly at the beginning, so they don't have to miss it all.
Okay, cool. It's recording anyway, so.
Oh, that's fine then. Yeah. Oh, I realised my camera.
Yeah. Do you have the slides?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I need to be on my laptop, so I'm on my phone. So give me a minute.
Okay, no worries. Well, Tanvi, Freya, and Zoe, do you guys want to introduce yourself and talk about like your Marrow group and things like that?
Yeah, so I'm from Lancaster Marrow. I'm president of Lancaster Marrow. And this year we've had quite a few successful events, the most recent one being our pub quiz. So we collaborated with 2 other societies. It's the biggest event Lancaster Marrow has ever done. We were expecting like 40 people and like max, and 90 people turned up. So that was pretty incredible. But yeah, I'm really proud of Marrow and the other 2 societies we collaborated with too.
Amazing, congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't know if to go next or not, like you're waiting to see who's gonna talk. I'm Freya, I'm president of Bristol Marrow, and we've kind of been like setting up our Marrow group this year. Me and Elle have been doing it together because there wasn't one before. So we haven't run loads of events this year, but last week we did a city campaign. It was really successful. There was a lot of challenges involved in it. Like our SG was really funny about it. Like they just did not want to support us, which was strange, but we made it work anyway. And we had 127 sign-ups last count. Is it still the same? Have we had any more online ones? Maybe.
I have not asked fully, and I don't have access, but I will ask.
Well, maybe even more, so that would be good. But yeah, it's going really well, and hopefully we'll do more events in the rest of the year. Yeah, no, it's good.
And I'll go. So I'm one of 2 presidents at Dundee Marrow. We have most recently just been actually over to St Andrews. They don't really have a committee at the moment. They used to have a Marrow committee. So the other day this week, we were just over kind of helping to run a DR event with them. They've got quite like a good medical school for, like high footfall places. So we were helping them do that and kind of just generating interest so that they might have a committee come next year. We've not really been able to do that much in-person DR because of COVID and the rules up here being a bit different. So our first semester was a bit limited in a sense, but we've still done really well considering like I think in first semester we got like 98 sign-ups, which for us was like insane in comparison to like we've had 2 years of nothing because of COVID. But because of that, we didn't get a handover last year. We didn't really have anything to hand over. So that's kind of why I wanted to come along, because now we actually have stuff to like hand over.
Amazing, congratulations. I didn't actually realise that you were doing stuff with St Andrews because they're one of my steward groups, and I've been messaging this one girl the whole time like, hi, can we have a steward call? Like, how are you doing? Because she's just not.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone that's like functioning as the committee, because I am now so confused. I was in contact with like 2 different people, both of whom didn't really want to like run the event. I think one of them was a previous president and she's now in 4th year and doesn't have the time to do it. And she'd sort of passed the baton on to, they have a School of Medicine president who was kind of keen for us to come over, but she wasn't really keen to like help out and wasn't really involved with Marrow and didn't really know what to do. So it was quite confusing, but Neela was the one who was kind of going back and forth trying to communicate with us both. So I think what we're going to do going forward is maybe have a St Andrews rep, and then they can organise with like the School of Medicine president that we'll do their events like at their Freshers Fair and everything. But if they like a committee, yeah, we'll do them. So
amazing. Well, I'm Ellen/Elle. And I'm National Marrow President and also on the Bristol Marrow Committee with Freya. And I'm going to hand over to Anna, who's going to introduce herself and then give us a little presentation.
Cool. So hi everyone, my name's Anna, and I was at Durham Marrow for about 4 years, 2000 from 2017, I think it was. So a long life at Marrow. And now I'm in Marrow Alumni. I joined after I graduated this year. And I'm here to talk to you about why you should join also Marrow Alumni after you graduate, which will obviously be more applicable to some of you who are later on in the years. But obviously, even if you're first, second year, please keep it in mind. It's a really great thing to do. So I have some slides that I'll just show. This is my skill. Okay. Let's try this one. I have so many screens up. Okay. Can everyone see that? No? Okay, it says it's paused. There? Yeah, success. Okay, we're there. If something goes wrong, just like put your hand up, because yeah, I've got so many screens open because I've been working on this. But so yeah, I'm gonna, as I said, talk to you about life after Marrow, because there is one, surprisingly. After you graduate, Marrow doesn't have to stop. And if you loved it as much as I did and a lot of other people, you won't want it to stop either. So this is just sort of introducing Marrow Alumni and what we do, and how you can get involved. Yeah, so first of all, I've already sort of introduced myself. This is my prime time photo of achieving the Lifetime Award last September, which I was completely shocked at, but there you go. Clearly I'm a keen Marrower to get that. But yeah, I am now on the Commercial Analyst grad scheme at Centrica, who are owners of British Gas, if you don't know what Centrica is, because neither did I when I applied. And I'm, as I said, the fundraising coordinator on the Marrow Alumni Committee, and I joined last September. So I'm quite new to Marrow Alumni, but I'm here to tell you what it's all about. Moving on. Cool. So essentially, Marrow Alumni is a way to still be involved in supporting the anti-Nolan charity after university, and whether that's in fundraising, in donor recruitment, or in raising awareness. We really plug for you to get involved with who you're working with and see if you can do any events with them, and raise awareness for the anti-Nolan charity within work as well. On the committee, so we have a small committee. Obviously, when you leave, you become Marrow Alumni automatically. That's the title you get. But then we have the Marrow Alumni Committee, which is sort of a small group of dedicated volunteers that sort of keep everyone that's just graduated, try and keep them engaged, and sort of put out the opportunities out there that you can still get involved with supporting the anti-Nolan charity. So the committee are there to represent the alumni community and build a bridge between Marrow and the anti-Nolan charity. And yeah, just keep the alumni community connected to Marrow. It's a bit of a grey area of whether you're in Marrow, whether you're an anti-Nolan volunteer, but anything that we can sort of get people together and get people still supporting the charity is great. And of course, as there are with Marrow, there are also other benefits to the Marrow Alumni Committee. You get to help organise the conferences, so you still get involved with them. And if you've ever been to one in person, they're great. And I don't want to stop going to them. It's just for the free food, really. But you get to organise them, you get to give presentations, so really build on your communication skills. And that's something really vital for sort of life. So it's a really great opportunity there. And obviously you get to meet a whole shed loads of new people. I hope on Marrow that you've met a load of amazing people. I know at my uni, we're a great group. We formed a great friendship, and I was surrounded by really amazing people. And then we leave uni and you sort of disconnect a bit from them. But here's a new group that you can actually find different Marrows from different universities and actually build a new network there. So that's a really great aspect of it as well. So how you can get involved. We're on Facebook. If you just follow us at Marrow Alumni Community, we're on Instagram, so follow our Instagram, it's Marrow Alumni, and also on LinkedIn, which some of you might be a bit premature for, but if you're looking for jobs, LinkedIn is definitely the one to go for. And you'll find us on there as well. And then, of course, we'll send an email out at the end of your Marrow time and ask if you want to keep engaged and keep involved, and receive a monthly newsletter from us, which we create and send out just to sort of distribute sort of opportunities that are coming up. And the one thing that we probably are famous for is revealing where the donors come from every month or so. So when you look on Facebook and you see that your universities signed up a donor that's going to donate that month, that's us. So that's probably our biggest claim to fame. So ways to get involved, as I said, join our social media groups and sign up to our newsletters. And then there's obviously the option to become an active volunteer. So we actively look for Marrow alumni who are taking part in like London marathons, in Tough Mudders, you know, in any sort of charity event that they want to support the anti-natal for. We help them do that, and we sort of create communication between the charity and them, sort of support them with their fundraising. And yeah, so just remember Marrow Anti-Nolan, and if a time in your life appears where you're like, okay, this is a great opportunity to support the anti-Nolan charity, get in touch and we'll help you. We'll provide this, the support and, you know, any sort of infographics or information you need to spread the awareness. And yeah, so I've probably sped through that because I'm really hungry and want dinner. But thank you all. And this talk also, I'm going to just a massive plug for sustainability. It's super important. So yeah, good luck in all your elections and voting and stuff. But I'm sure you're doing all amazing work at your universities, and thanks for coming along. So if you have any questions, I've got time for questions. But
yeah, thank you so much, Anna. Really interesting. So before I became national mayor president, I was on the alumni committee for a year as well. So I kind of used alumni as like a little stepping stone whilst I was like in between like undergrad and masters. And I'd really recommend getting involved with Marrow Alumni. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. Does anyone have any questions for Anna?
Cool. Well, enjoy your talk, and hopefully I'll see some of you at the AGM this year, because I will be there again.
Yeah, so exciting. Looking forward to it. She'll see you in Leeds.
Is it Leeds? You've revealed it now. That's a good one. I remember the last Leeds one. It was good. All right, bye everyone, and good luck with your marrying for the rest of the year.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Right, okay, so before we start, do you guys just want to give me like an update on where you are in terms of like recruiting a new committee, if you've had an AGM, if you've started handovers, like where you're at?
So I'll start. So we haven't actually advertised our posts yet, and we just finished the pub quiz, and then, you know, the campaign for Yvette came around. So we kind of delayed our post for our new committee, but we're hoping to do it in the next week or two. We're just a bit worried about like the president, just because I'm entering fourth year next year, so it'll be quite a heavy workload. So I'm happy to do like co-presidency with someone, you know, someone who's been on the committee before. But we have had some interest as well from people who haven't been on the exec before. So it's really just about waiting and seeing who's going to apply, I think.
Amazing. Cool. Zoe, what about you?
So we're sort of the same. We haven't advertised any posts or anything yet, mainly because we only recently had a meeting for Miles for Marrow, and I think we kind of want to do that campaign first and then advertise. I think I'm the only person who's leaving my committee this year. Well, I'm definitely the only person who's graduating. And right now, obviously, I'm in a co-presidency anyway, and my other co-president is 2 years below me. So she's got, you know, there's quite a lot of experienced people on my committee that are staying on. I think the difficulty will be if everybody sort of moves up into president and VP roles, it'll just be like filling other roles and having enough people to sort of help out the workload. But I'm not too worried at this moment. I think we'll be okay, but we'll advertise it probably late April time after we've done all the Miles from Marrow stuff.
Okay, amazing. That's really good to hear from both of you, because most of my presentation is about committees rather than handover. So when I asked that question, I was like, please, like, let there be at least one person who hasn't like recruited a new committee yet. So yeah, that's good. And then yeah, Frey, obviously I know the situation with Bristol.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, I think everyone we have apart from you though is gonna be here next year, so yeah, that's something good.
Gargi, I don't know if Gargi is staying.
Oh yeah, I think she wants to do a master's.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's applying for them at the moment, so if she does do one, she'll be here next year.
Okay, cool. Sorry to interrupt and go slightly off track. I've just spotted the poster for the Bristol City campaign. I need to get some more for you at some point.
Oh yeah, it's on my wall there. It looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah, those are our posters that we made for our campaign last week.
Yeah, had to put one up, you know. Yeah, I've got them in my room. Yeah, I'll get to it at some point.
Okay, so advance warning. My computer is really old and it doesn't like multitasking, but I'm going to try my best to screen share. If I cut out, I'll just like rejoin from my phone or from my iPad. But yeah, okay, I'm going to get the presentation up now. Also, I have a really squeaky chair that I've just realised as well, so I apologise about if you can hear like, I also don't sit very still, so like you might just hear like an odd squeaking sound. Okay, how do I present this? I feel like it's been a while since I've done like online presentations. Okay, presenter view, share screen. Okay. Let me know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Yep, we can.
Started at the end, which is great. Sorry, I'm not going to swear. Let's go back. Okay, cool. We're at the beginning. Right. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. If I put that over there, can you guys? Does it change anything for you? Does it look exactly?
Put what over where?
I basically just put your faces on it, but I don't know if it's changed.
We can't see them anyway. We can just see the presentation.
Okay, so I'm guessing you guys can hear me, which is great. We are recording this session. So like if you don't want to be recorded, then just feel free to turn the cameras off. But I think like unless you speak, your image won't come up anyway. So just run through the agenda. So we're going to talk about what a sustainable group is, elections and AGMs, worst case scenarios and why they shouldn't scare you, recruiting during freshers, handovers, and then like little Q&A at the end. So sustainable groups are groups that keep going year after year after their current members, maybe you guys, graduate. This is really important because it means that your Marrow group can survive and of course that we can save many, many more lives. One of your committee's responsibilities is to leave your Marrow group in a better place than when you started. And that's kind of a committee responsibility for a normal year. I wouldn't say that's a responsibility for this year or like the past few years because COVID has just kind of put a spanner in the works, everything. So I'd say don't stress about being like, oh, I need to make sure I leave the Marrow committee in a better position than when it started, because I think COVID's just kind of hit like volunteering societies, particularly like in a difficult way. Am I still here or have I frozen? Still here.
It's fine, you're still here.
Oh, sorry, it just like glitched for a second and I was like, oh. Yeah, so I think like the main aim for this year is just to like keep it going. Like if you have a committee this year of like 4 or 5, don't feel pressured into like having a committee of like 6 or whatever. Like don't focus on trying to make it bigger and better, just focus on like making sure that you've recruited people who are actually interested in doing the role, and just having like the key roles to start with. I'd say that's your main focus. But yeah, one thing that is really key is making sure that you do a good handover to make sure that those people are given like the best chance to make sure the society keeps it growing, and then hopefully like either next year or the year after they will be able to make the Marrow group better than you handed it over in, because obviously we just love exponential growth. Yeah, so we need to make sure that groups just don't start from scratch. Yeah, as I just said, our aim is to retain and not grow, so keep that in mind this year. So 3 main steps to becoming a sustainable group. So quite obviously by recruiting lots of volunteers and retaining them, and by letting them join next year's committee. This has obviously been really difficult this year, and it's quite far into the year already, so we won't be going into a lot of detail for volunteer recruitment and retention. But if you do want to find out more, you can go to 365 SharePoint and click on the online training folder, and there should be a Word file with links to the volunteer engagement training session. So moving on, the next step to good sustainability is electing a strong committee. We will go into lots of depth with this today, and we have some really fun new resources to help you do this. There are a few steps to electing a good committee, so this will hopefully be helpful. And then finally, providing a good handover, the same thing really, there's lots of bits and bobs to that, but luckily we have some new resources for you. So first things first, has that changed? No? Did I skip it? Nope. Okay, cool. Sorry. I feel like such a granny. I don't know. I've literally just not been Zoom that long, and now I'm like, I don't know how it works. So elections and AGMs. So like we already said, what we want this year is a sustainable group, and not necessarily growth. Of course, we still love to see groups growing, but during the pandemic, the reality is that not many groups have had a chance to. So we changed our election objective. This is 2021, it's 2022. Just in case you didn't know what year we were in, I forgot to change that, sorry. To reflect that this year, and what we mean by that is that there are key things that we need all elections to focus on this year. So we want people who are recruiting new committees to focus on the president's core committee roles and communication. So starting with presidents, what we mean by this is that regardless of how small a committee you elect, we need you to have a president. If you have a president, then we have a means of communicating with you, and we'll be able to help your group in the coming year to recruit more members. But if this won't be possible, don't panic, we will also get to that. If you have a president, then we need you to next focus on core committee roles. And by that, we mean that some SUs require some groups to have certain roles that need to be filled in order for the group to remain affiliated with the SU. And so that's kind of like our key priority for this year, because as Freya and I know all too well, trying to become re-affiliated with the SU is a pain in the ass. Because once you become disaffiliated, they then need you to like prove that you're not going to become disaffiliated again. And so I would say, we would say like focus on keeping SU affiliated roles. And basically, as we'll get to a bit later, they don't need to be like, you could have someone that's say a secretary, but then also they do a bit of donor recruitment, but they're just on file with the SU as being a secretary, so you guys can maintain SU affiliation. I would say that like SU affiliation is really key, because yeah, just helps you get events, helps you get into freshers. Like SU affiliation is key to having a good sustainable Marrow group, and we really want to make sure that if possible you can recruit enough committee members so that you remain SU affiliated. Yeah, if the roles don't correspond to your group's needs, just rename them. Role titles are arbitrary and often a formality that SUs require. So you can just rename your fundraising officer to treasurer for like the SU's sake. Yeah, I already said that. But to like Marrow and the rest of the committee, there'll be a fundraising officer. I literally like massively preempted myself. I'm so proud of myself. I had notes and I'd already said it all. Sorry. Finally, communication. We cannot stress this enough. We understand that things don't always go as planned. So regardless of whether you recruit a full 10 people committee or just a president or even no committee, we will understand and we will help. We just want to know. So please just stay in touch even if elections go wrong. But like from the sounds of it from you guys, hopefully that won't happen. Like it sounds like you have some people lined up that will be really good. But if it all goes tits up and suddenly everyone hates Marrow and is like, I don't want to do this anymore, just let us know. Like it's not a reflection of you. Things happen, things change, just let us know so we can try and support your group the best that we can. Yeah, it's really annoying when we have groups that just go silent because they're like afraid of like saying, oh, this has happened, because it just means that it's so much more difficult to get up off the ground again. So don't ever feel like ashamed that you've not been able to recruit a committee or anything. Just let us know and we can help you the best that we can. Right. So first off, that didn't change again. I'm really bad with these buttons, so sorry. If you haven't yet, we would highly encourage you to start thinking about elections, look at your current committee and volunteers and start thinking about who may stay on, who has been like an excellent volunteer this year, who's been showing potential and you think would be really good in a committee role. And from there, you can work out how many other roles you might need to fill. You can also open up roles to non-Marrows if you're struggling to recruit. To be honest, I would do this anyway. Whenever we run elections, we've just opened up to whoever wants to be like involved. And I think that is a really good way because people may run, like you might have a pretty much full committee, but someone might run for a committee role and then come along to the AGM and like hear about why all these people are running for Marrow and why they want to be involved in Marrow, and it can get people engaged and be like, okay, well maybe I can't take on a committee role this year, but I'll volunteer and then maybe next year I'll be able to be on committee. And it just is like a way to get new people involved. So with Bristol, for example, it was literally just me, Freya and Gargi. And then we were like, okay, let's just try and recruit a committee. And we had like, I think we have well, I'm really bad at math. I think there's like 7 or 8 of us now. And most of them like we hadn't ever heard of before. They just like applied to be on the committee. So I would definitely say open up your applications and spread it as far and wide as possible. Definitely get in touch with med schools and advertise the roles there. Ask friends and housemates whether they'd be interested in taking on small roles. So for example, I think it was, oh, I can't remember, sorry if it was Zoe or Tanvi, but one of you was saying that, I think it was maybe Zoe, that you're worried about people moving up and not having like smaller roles. But what you could do if you think that it's like essential and you really want to have people in those roles, you could ask like housemates or friends if they'd be willing to take on the role until the next year. And then you can have freshers as an opportunity to recruit like another new committee, like committee members for those roles, and be like, or the same with if, I'm going to go on to this later, but apparently my brain is just really active today. But if the same with like SU roles, if you need someone to fill an SU role, you can just say to a housemate, would you mind just putting your name down for this? And then as soon as freshers comes around, then we'll recruit someone new, so you won't actually have to do anything, just so that we don't use affiliation. And yeah, and then as I just said, recruiting people in freshers is a really good idea. Did that change again? No, what is wrong with me? Sorry, I think I'm just clicking on the wrong thing. By the end of this, I'll know how to do it. Okay. Yeah, so different groups have different needs. Is your current committee structure working, and do you need to add or remove any roles? So yeah, elections are a great time to start thinking about committee structure. If you have 10 committee roles, but you may
I don't think we can see the thing you're talking about.
Oh,
we're still on the like who slide.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird.
Oh, there we go. It's changed now.
That was so strange. I can't actually see what you can see anymore.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
That's right now anyway.
Okay, cool. Sorry. So yeah, different groups have different needs. It's a good time to see if your current structure is working. Like sometimes bigger committees aren't always better. Sometimes it's good to have like a smaller committee that are really passionate and dedicated, rather than like just a numbers game. If you have lots of volunteers, but then having said that, if you have lots of volunteers, you can add extra roles that people may be interested in, that are like more specialized, but you just don't want to like oversaturate your committee, especially by saying have like, I think in Birmingham for some reason we had like 3 donor recruitment coordinators, and they were meant to be for like different aspects of donor recruitment, but it just didn't work, and it just got really confusing because there was like too many people to do the job. So sometimes like smaller roles can work. Also, one thing to keep an eye out for, Bristol in particular are changing the rules so that we need to have, I think it's a diversity rep. So a lot of SUs are like introducing new things like that, so that becomes like a core part of your committee. So that can also be something worth thinking about. Yeah, obviously you guys know your Marrow group best, so think about like what's worked well this way, what has worked well this year, what like how you think your structure could change to make it work better, and just assess your structure and make it work for you. Am I going to click the right button now? Yes, it changed. Okay. So this is what we would usually recommend small new groups start out as. Presidents, fundraising coordinator, and donor recruitment coordinators are key roles, and these can easily be remodeled into like a chair as president, treasurer, and secretary for the SU's tick boxes. So between you can share tasks like social media, volunteer training, and admin. Then a step up from this would be maybe to add a volunteer coordinator and a social media coordinator. Once you build a strong volunteer base, you'll need someone who actively gets involved with them to build a community, and someone who trains them to be able to join donor recruitment events. Similarly, social media coordinators will ensure that your group gains exposure on campus, and it is essential to group growth and sustainability. I do feel like social media can often, like a social media role can often be overlooked, but it can become quite difficult if you're doing one role on committee, like to try and remember to do social media, and then social media kind of becomes like an afterthought. but that is a lot of the time where exposure on campus will come from. And I think I personally would focus on recruiting a social media coordinator for your committee next year, because that can really help. Having a good social media presence can help with like recruiting freshers and like creating an online community, and then that will help with your group's long-term sustainability as well. Nope, I did it again. Okay. Sorry. Finally, if you're a large group, double up on some roles to make sure you can run more and more frequent events. You can also add those specialized roles like you can see here. Again, these are just typical hypothetical structures and fully customizable. We just want to give you an idea of what can be done and what is possible. So then going on to elections. So you decided on available roles and now you want to run your elections. Every uni has different procedures in place for elections. If yours are purely on the SU website, this may not work quite as well for you, but we like to recommend that you run an AGM. By an AGM, we mean an annual end of year meeting where you look back at the year with all of your volunteers and let all committee applicants read their manifestos, introduce themselves, and then let your volunteers vote for a new committee. I think that it's always best to do this rather than just like an online form and then people vote, because I feel like it really builds a sense of community. And like, as I was saying earlier, if you have people that don't know that much about Marrow, then they come along and then they can like hear people's manifestos and they'll get really enthused and they'll be like, oh, actually, this person's done this the past year on Marrow, it sounds really exciting. And they're more likely to want to get involved rather than just like a vote online form. And also it's kind of just a really nice way to end the year and like hand over to the new committee and meet everyone as well. So I would definitely recommend, even if it's not a formal requirement by the SU, I would recommend running an AGM. So to plan your AGM, it's worth setting a date and a time as soon as possible and getting the word out. If possible, invite your volunteers personally. They may be more likely to attend and vote if they feel like their voice matters. If you have a few candidates, make sure you send out an application form or let candidates submit a manifesto a little in advance so that you can ensure everyone is prepared. Personally, I would say make sure that you get people to submit manifestos in advance and say like, okay, the deadline is like a week or 2 weeks before the actual AGM, because then you can look at who's running for what and see if you need to do a bit more of recruitment before the committee, before the AGM. So I would always say get people to submit a manifesto. Finally, make sure you settle on a way to let people vote anonymously and fairly. Marrow is an inclusive community and we don't want anyone to get accused of being inaccessible, holding unfair elections or preventing someone from joining committee. One thing I would say about this is we had an issue in Birmingham where people brought their friends along to elections, which is obviously completely fine. But this was like the first time we'd run an election before. And we didn't know, like we didn't really know the voting policy. And what I would just say is after that, from other elections, we basically added in a rule that was like, if you've not volunteered for Marrow before, or like regularly, or you're not a member on the SU website, then you can't vote, because the issue with Birmingham before was that we held like an EGM rather than an AGM to elect a new committee role, and then someone just brought along loads of their friends, then obviously that skewed the balance in their favour because all of their friends voted for them rather than what was in the best interest for the Marrow committee. So maybe just have a think about that, like just adding in a little rule, like only if you volunteered like for Marrow before, if you're part of the SU website, then can you vote. It says 10-minute break here, but I think we're just going to skip past that. Or does anyone want a break? Carry on. Cool. Cool. So worst case scenarios and why you shouldn't worry about it. So you've had your elections, if you've recruited a full committee, that's great, amazing. But if you haven't, don't worry. There are plenty of things you can do. So we'll just go over a few worst case scenarios and why you should not lose sleep over them. Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about like what you guys are worried about, but does anyone have anything else they want to say that they're worried about, like their worst case scenario or your horror scenario of like elections this year for Marrow?
Just that no one applies.
Have you spoken to any of your committee at the moment? Is anyone thinking of staying on?
So no one has particularly like said on the group chat. However, you know, when I'm talking to them, people are like, yeah, kind of, you know, showing a bit of interest, but not actually saying anything on the group chat. So I'm not sure how realistic it is to expect them to like apply. But I've had interest from like other medics, you know, who have said, oh, I'll be interested in joining, but obviously they wouldn't go for like president or vice president role. So,
well, I think that sounds really positive. And also, I would say don't worry too much, because when we were in Birmingham, so everyone that applied to the committee had never volunteered at a Marrow event before, and we managed to recruit a committee of 10. And then we ended up like winning some awards at like, we got nominated for an award at the Answers and stuff. And so I think like, even if you end up with no one, and the same with Bristol, like loads of random people applied, as long as you get into the right like Facebook groups, and you get friends of friends to share, I think that you will get people applying, because people want to be on committee for things. And I think Marrow is such a great thing to be on committee for. Okay, so horror scenario 1, no president. So as promised, let's start with not being able to find a president. Of course, the solution really depends on why you don't have a president. If everyone is really tight on time or doesn't feel like they want to take on responsibility, you could try to offer people a co-president role or a president/vice president structure. And so by that we mean to recruit 2 presidents who share the workload, or a vice president who directly supports the president and lightens the workload. This has worked really well for some groups. And I think in your case, Tammy might work really well. Having like a co-president role also means that, like, I don't know if you, sorry, my brain isn't working particularly well today, but I think you mentioned about potentially staying on, but like not wanting to be sole president. If you had like a co-president, like you could be one of the co-presidents and then have someone that's new to Marrow, and you could work together, and that could be a nice way of making sure that you've got a balance. And also, I mean, in an ideal scenario, it could be really cool if it was someone that's not in their final year as well, because then you could like kind of train them up, and then the next year they could go on to be like sole president. So that could work well for you guys. If you don't have an experienced member and nobody feels ready to go for president, then we can guarantee you that it doesn't matter. Many of us start completely clueless. In the coming year will be especially jam-packed with training and support for groups. So anyone worrying about experience will be receiving extensive support. So just encourage them to take the leap. I actually had no Marrow experience before I applied to join committee, and I applied to go straight in as president. And I literally joined and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I just like loved it and threw myself straight in. And obviously now national Marrow president, so you know, it's not always like you had to have had like extensive experience, like just people that are keen. Yeah, so just encourage anyone to take the leap. But yeah, basically someone messaged me and was like, oh, I saw that you're interested in applying for committee, but like you haven't applied for a role, you're interested in running for president. And I was like, why would I run for president? I have no experience, like I don't know anything. And then they're like, no, like just go for it, it'll be fine. And I was like, okay, you know what, why not? And then I started and realized that Marrow was like bigger than just Birmingham Marrow, and there was like 50 groups, and I was like, oh my god, this is so stressful. But the Marrow team basically like completely trained me from scratch, and yeah, it's the best thing I've done at university. So I would just encourage people to apply as long as you think they're like actually dedicated and going to do a good job. But yeah, if you still struggle to motivate people, why not appoint an interim president? This also works if you have a small committee and you've only recruited a new, say, like fundraising coordinator or general recruitment officer, but no president yet. You could ask someone on committees to temporarily step up and act as president until a new one is found in the new academic year. They would not have to fully commit to anything, but simply stay in touch with the Marrow team and book us in for like freshers fairs, and then we can help you from there. And also, again, it's just making sure that you stay SU affiliated. So scenario 2, nobody is standing for election at all. The sad reality is that we may lose some groups due to the pandemic hitting the volunteer sector really hard, but there is still hope. We've mentioned earlier, but your key audiences to find committees are your friends, volunteers, and medics. Most of your friends probably know how much Marrow means to you, so why not ask them to join? Of course, not everyone will be super enthusiastic, but if they aren't interested, you could try to get them to help you establish an interim committee. I do feel like the more I talk about Marrow with my friends, the more interested they become, and the more likely they are to volunteer. It can be quite scary though, because like if it's something you're really passionate about or you have a family connection to, if you like share that passion with someone and then they're just like not interested at all, it can be a bit of a downer. But it's just you just need to try and not take that to heart, and just try and ask other people. Maybe someone else would be interested. But yeah, you never know unless you try. Yeah, so we've already talked about like what an interim committee is. So just get friends or housemates, basically just like sign on the dotted line, but then they don't have to really do anything else until the next, well, they don't have to do anything else. And then you can just recruit a new committee in the next year. And yeah, we can basically help with managing and recruiting a new committee in the next year. So that's basically what National Marrow and the Marrow team are there for, is to try and help you guys get a committee if you're struggling in the new year. As we talked about earlier, you could also open up roles to people who haven't married yet. You could just email your medical or pharmacy department, or even the general volunteering service or career service, and ask them to advertise your opportunities. It's a great experience. It's open to anyone. Again, don't worry about lack of experience. We've got like lots and lots of trainings that we can provide everyone, and obviously at the national conference as well, there's so much training. So no experience is not an issue, basically. I literally just said this, but yeah, an inexperienced committee is not an issue. We will literally be doing everything we can to try and train everyone up and make sure they have the most support they possibly can for the next year. We have Marrow 101 and campaigns training that's on 365 to watch. We have an intro to Marrow sessions and national conferences. We have campaigns training and conference recordings, stewardship support, and also individualized one-to-one training. So yeah, we just need people, basically, people who are keen, are willing to engage, and we can supply them with all of the knowledge. So yeah, no experience is not a problem. And then scenario 4, worst case scenario, you've tried everything, you're giving it your best, but still there's no new committee. First of all, that's completely fine. Like that's happened loads of times, it's happened to loads of groups, and it's not end game, you know, like there's still ways that we can make your Marrow group successful even if you don't have a committee. It has been like a really difficult few years, and it just happens, you know. So please don't beat yourself up over not being able to find a new committee. But if this is the case, don't drop off the face of the earth, like I said earlier, because there's nothing worse than radio silence. It doesn't have to be the end of your Marrow group, so please get in touch with your National Marrow steward and chat with them about what your next steps are. It's really key that you stay in touch with us, because even if there's no committee, you can hand over your social media details to us, and we can continue to run the social medias to create awareness on campus and try and recruit a new committee when possible. Yeah, there's just another point here that's like, for one last time, we can't show this enough. Do not go radio silent. Yeah, so don't go radio silent. If anyone goes radio silent after this, I'll literally cry. Okay, next. Recruiting during freshers. So if you ended up with a smaller committee than you would have liked, we really want to push freshers joining the committee in the next year. So this is a great way to grow your group and immediately raise your profile on campus if you get new people involved. So we'll go over a couple of ways now in which you can do that. So freshers are busy people somehow, even though they don't really end up doing the degrees in first year, but there are a few like reliable-ish ways that you can access them. So almost all freshers are desperate to meet new people, make friends, and group chats and Facebook pages are really key to that. Almost all unis have official freshers Facebook pages, and some cohorts will make like unofficial freshers group chats, and they'll admit pretty much anyone who asks to be added. So just try and infiltrate their chats if you're looking to recruit people to join your committee during freshers, post opportunities and really hype up the social and careers aspects of Marrow, and make sure to word your opportunities as if they're exclusive and exciting for freshers. Don't worry about like standing out and being like, oh, I can't do this, like loads of societies do it, and if they're not doing it, then they're missing out. You should also try and get your group booked into every freshers and volunteers fair you can, and this is something I would say look at whilst you're like maybe in the next few weeks or so, because these things tend to happen quite far in advance. So have a look at getting into the freshers fairs and contacting your SU about that soon. Freshers congregate to these fairs for freebies, so take advantage of this. One thing that we did in Birmingham for our Freshers Fair, which was really good, we made like little goodie bags. So we basically ordered like just basically like paper bags, and we stuck like a Marrow sticker on them, and then inside we put like a leaflet of all of our upcoming events. We put like a bottle opener, a pop socket, a lolly, like some balloons, and basically like instead of just having a table with freebies, we were like, oh hey, if you give us your email or you sign up to the stem cell register, then you can get one of these goodie bags. And then it just was like an extra incentive for people to come over, because they're like, oh, I wonder what's in the goodie bag, rather than just like seeing all the freebies laid out. It's a bit of like a marketing technique scam, but you know, it works. We've got loads of volunteers. So, and also it's not like we're selling stuff, we're trying to save people's lives, so it's fine. Yeah, they'll pretty much put their name down for anything if you offer like a free pen or food, or yeah, just that you'll put them, you can just put people on your name list. So yeah, make sure to keep an eye on emails from your SU or their website so you can book as soon as possible, because the fairs do fill up really fast. Another good thing to do is trying to get into lectures. Lecture shout outs are really good. Most people will, like, if you have a captive audience that just kind of sat there and it's something different like their normal lectures, then they kind of don't have a choice but to listen unless they're on their phones. But I really feel like lecture shout outs in terms of recruiting people to the stem cell register and also recruiting people to the committee is a really good like captive audience, especially if you do it in medical schools. Newsletters are also like a really good way to reach new people. So making sure that you're contacting your SU, your careers, your volunteering departments, like medical departments, people that you know about like blood cancer and stem cells, and getting into their newsletters. Most people will be more than happy to include your role adverts for you. Yeah, but bear in mind that freshers get really emails, so don't get really emails, get loads of emails. So don't rely on that alone. And finally, ask your SU as soon as possible. So I don't know, maybe like tomorrow or sometime this week or next week, whether you can include some information about Marrow in welcome packs. So, you know, like when you first join uni, some people get like a box and it's filled with freebies, and they have like leaflets about different things. Maybe see if you can get like even just like a little line mentioned about Marrow in the welcome packs. Also, like we could offer some freebies for those packs as well as like a bottle opener that says Marrow. And you can basically just ask if you can get into the welcome packs. Because yeah, that would be really cool if like pretty much every fresher ends up getting like a Marrow bottle opener. Like it just will be, maybe they'll be like, oh, what's Marrow, hopefully. But even if not, like just having that brand awareness is really good. But yeah, these get organized really early on, so try and jump on that train if you can. And again, like asking can't hurt. So one thing to really shout about when you're trying to recruit people for committee is the benefits of Marrow. And I do feel like Marrow is a really unique society. Like there's not many societies across the UK who have like 50 other groups across the UK that you can interact with and make friends with, and that offer training really regularly. And there's a national committee, and there's like paid members of staff who are willing to help you and like who host conferences and will like pay for travel and all of that. So yeah, there's just so, and like that's like that kind of like the extra stuff as well. But even just from like being on a Marrow committee, there are so many skills that you can gain and so many things you can learn. Yeah, we really pride ourselves on not just benefiting Anthony Nolan, but also equipping Marrowers with the skills and experience that will genuinely benefit them from life. And I honestly do feel like this is the case. Like I think I was saying to someone recently, before I got involved with Marrow, I would, and this is like an example that I use if I was trying to recruit someone, I'd be like, oh, I was filling out job application forms, and they would ask me, how is my team working? Or like, how's my presentation skills? And I literally would just I wouldn't make stuff up, but like, I thought I had those skills. And then it wasn't until I joined Marrow that I was like, oh my God, like, actually I didn't have those skills before. Now I have team working skills, and now I know how to deliver presentations. So I really do feel like Marrow like pushes you out of your comfort zone. So yeah, it can be a really life-changing volunteering experience. But yeah, there are so many different reasons to get involved with Marrow, from the conferences through to the Daisy Ball, so many different training opportunities. Again, like the community, like I mentioned, met so many of my friends through Marrow. Like I was living with, I think, Zoe, you were mentioning Neela earlier. So Neela was my housemate last year, who I met through Marrow. Yeah, met lots of people from Marrow. But yeah, obviously there are so many different skills that you can gain from different roles. So if you're trying to recruit people for specific roles, make sure to really hype up the skills that they can gain from them. Yeah, freshers are always keen to make new friends. So again, the community aspect of it is really key. And then careers as well is super key. So I don't know if people know this, but Marrow offers references to pretty much every volunteer that's ever been involved. So if you're looking for someone to be a reference for like a job application after uni, then you can just drop the Marrow team a message and they will provide you with a reference, which is really good. Alumni has lots of presentations and delivers talks about like how to tailor your CV and make sure that you're including Marrow in it in the best way possible. And yeah, it just provides you with lots of like life experience and new skills and stuff. So yeah, it can be hard to like remember all of those different things, but like when you're trying to recruit committee members, just remember like try and remember all the different benefits, or like come back to the slide and be like, okay, these are the benefits, because it can be hard to put into words. But personally, I think there are so many benefits of being on Marrow. Okay, so we know that that's like quite a lot, but elections can be tough and complex and overwhelming. So if you would like more support with your elections, then we've created the Ultimate Election Guide. It really goes into detail about what elections are, why they matter. It goes back over our new election objectives that we already spoke about. It goes into more depth on how to recruit freshers. It has a whole section on working with your SU. It has a massive section on Marrow benefits, including a transferable skills to be gained profile for every committee role, which is really handy. Election frequently asked questions and troubleshooting. It has a step-by-step guide on where to find all the key resources that will make elections easier. It has templates to post your roles and adverts on social media, templates to email about lecture shout outs, to post into fresher chats, to email medical departments, and to post on medical social pages. So basically, go and check that out. You can find this guide on the Facebook groups or on SharePoint under committee management. Drop me a message if you can't find it and I can email it across to you. Yeah, so that's everything to do with elections. Don't worry, the handover section is quite a bit shorter. But yeah, last but not least, the handovers. So handovers are really key because the quality of your handover will determine how successful the group may be in the following year. Good handovers mean a group can build on the previous group's successes, while a bad or non-existent handover means that groups need to basically start from scratch, which will really limit growth. So there is the Ultimate Handover Guide, which is similar to the election guide. This can also be found under committee management on 365. And there are quite a few things covered in this, like what are handovers, a sample agenda for your handover meeting if you don't know where to start, a handover checklist to make sure you haven't missed anything, documents to hand over and where to find them, your year review template, collaborative action plan template, group handover template, and individual handover templates. So definitely go check that out. Again, if you can't find it, drop me a message and I can send it over to you. So in terms of like how to do handovers, so handovers are best done by actually talking to each other rather than just sending documents back and forth. So we really recommend that you find a time that both the old and new committee can make and schedule a video call for this. I would tend to do it like try and do like one-on-one rather than like a whole committee, because that would just be a nightmare. So like if you're handing over, get your old donor recruitment coordinator to hand over to a new donor recruitment coordinators in a meeting, for example. Again, this depends on your group, but it may be helpful to start with a brief overview or an overview of your year, and then do a group handover by the whole committee. I know, I don't agree with that. Do them separately. Followed by everyone going into breakout rooms. Okay, yeah, that works. You could do that if we were doing it online. But yeah, I guess you could just have like a whole group handover where you meet up with the old committee and the new committee, then you can like go to separate rooms or something. But I think that kind of works best if we're doing it virtually. But this way you can like cover all your bases. So I just try and, if you're like in the president role, I would basically just chase it and be like, oh, hi, have you had your handover meeting? Yeah. And try and make sure they book them in and have handovers one-to-one. Really important is that don't forget to send all the documents to the new committee so they can actually spend their time focusing on the handover rather than like frantically taking notes. Because yeah, you want to make sure they have all the materials they need. So what goes into a handover? You can customize this the way you need, but from experience, we find that it really helps to reflect on your year as a group, what worked well and what didn't, what your top tips are, what you should not pursue again, why didn't project X and Y work out, and what projects may need to be continued in the next year. Again, there's a whole template for this in the guide to make sure this is like a simple, super process. It also helps to set goals together with a new committee. So there's an old committee and new committee. This is because they may not know how the group works and what's realistic. By setting goals together, you can avoid disappointment and also give them a rough idea of what may be achievable and what kind of events can get them there in terms of like reaching the goals. It may also motivate them to really push from the beginning because they know they're working towards like an achievable target. The checklists and templates in the guide will help you think of everything important, but think for yourself about what you would have liked to have done at the beginning of the year. Also, what social media logins need handing over, and are there any new ones? Have you got any empty versions of keeping track spreadsheets for the committee? So like the donor recruitment spreadsheet that says where you recruited, how many people you recruited, how many people were like from an ethnic minority background versus how many people were male, that kind of thing. What fundraising events went well, what fundraising events didn't go so well. And make sure that you've sent all of the relevant documents to AMP Nolan. And finally, what is your experience? Like, what are your top tips and what were your pitfalls that previous year? You know your group better than anyone else, so you will be the most competent person to tell new committees what will and won't work and how to get around red tape in your SU and how to get in touch with support teams, for example. Handovers are much of an essential formality as they are about personal experience, so make the most of it and really give your new committee the best chance to succeed next year. And yeah, I think that is everything. I know that it was like I talked quite fast, but does anyone have any questions? No questions? Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for coming and taking time out of your evening. I hope it's been useful. If you can't find any of those like handover documents, then let me know. I can send around the PowerPoint slides as well if that's useful too. Yeah, just thank you so much for all that you've done for Marrow this year. And yeah, if you need any help, like any practical issues arise in terms of like handing over or AGMs, then just drop us a message and we will help in any way that we can. But yeah, I hope you guys have a lovely evening and thank you for listening to me speak really fast and not know how to work Zoom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh.
Hi.
I'm trying to think. Hi, I was trying to think if I had anything to say, but I don't know. I didn't know that we had to do all the like fresh